So today I'm going to show you my method for remembering how to draw the unit circle and just intuitively how to think about it. So let's say we have a unit circle. And we have 4 quadrants. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we want to break it up further into eighths, so forth. And so just thinking of the unit circle like this, you want to think of where you start, which is your positive x-axis, and you want to label those, which that's always just going to be 0, 0, and it's 0 degrees. And so you kind of want to think of it intuitively like a pizza, that you have your unit circle, which all around total is 2 pi, and you want to break up that 2 pi. So think of 2 pi as like 2 pi over 1. And so when you break that up, you know, you can intuitively think, you know, dividing that by 1, by 2 even, right? You're going to get just pi. So you can say, oh, over here, we're just going to have pi. And so doing that, now we can try to form a base for what these other subsections are going to be. So right here, you think of as 1/4 of pi, right? Because this and this is 1/4. So you can say pi over, you know what, I'm going to draw these actually right inside the circle. So I'm going to say pi over 4. So now we can say these sections right here are, you know, just further, you know, fractional components of pi. So now we can say this is pi over 6. And then we can say that this is pi over 3. And then this is just pi over 2. And so so you can just go around the circle like this. And now once you have the first quadrant, you can use that as a technique to get the rest of the quadrants. So we can just say this over here is going to be this section plus this section right here. So we can say pi over 2 plus pi over 6, and that would just equal, I have to use, you know, simplify. I'm just gonna remove the pi's here and make them 1 just for simplicity. So now this, you know, find the lowest common denominator to add these fractions, and you would say 3 over 6 plus 1 over 6, and then you get 4 over 6, and then that would just simplify to 2/3, and then, you know, tack on the pi. So now you have your 2/3 pi, or 2 pi thirds, sorry. So now we just do it again. So here we say we want pi, but we also want this section here, which let's see if we can draw you this. That the distance here from here to here is the same as the distance here from here to here. Let's see if I can draw that a little thicker. So because of that, we can say pi over 1/2. And let me just erase this stuff. Alright, so now I can say pi over 2 plus this section, which is pi over 4, you know, let's ignore the pi's. So we just say 1/2 plus 1/4. And that's just going to equal, doing the lowest common denominator, you'll have 2/4 plus 1/4 was 3/4. And like I said, you tack on the pi at the end. So now we have here as 3/4. And so now we've done that, we can do the next section. And so this section right here is this distance here is the same as this distance right here. I know visually it might not look the same because how I drew it, but just assume it is. And now we can say pi halves. So we're going to say pi over 2 again. We're going to say plus this distance, which is this one right here. So we're going to say pi over 3. Pi over 3. Ignoring the pi's, we'll have pi over 1/2 plus, we'll have 1/2 plus 1/3. Then find the lowest common denominator, so we'll have 3/6 plus 2/6, and that would just simplify to 5/6. You know, tack on the pi at the end. So now we have this as 5/6, or 5pi6. And here we know is just pi. You know, let me draw that. I'll draw that in here. Okay, so we've got that now. I'm going to erase this. And so now we want, okay, so now we want to find these quadrants in the third quadrant. And I'll just draw them for now. You know, leave a spot for, you know, where they are in terms of pi. So now we want to say pi. Now we're going to use this as our new midpoint for adding to find these values. So now we're going to say pi, which is just, you know, we'll just call pi 1/1 because it's just 1 pi. And I'll put a pi there. So 1/1 pi. Then we're going to add this value right here. We want to know what this is. Well, this value right here is the same as this distance right here. So all we have to do is say pi, like we did, plus pi, you know, there's a 1, invisible 1 coefficient here, and we're going to say 6. So we find the lowest common denominator. We'll call that 6/6 plus 1/6, and we'll get 7/6 pi. So so now I've got that. You know, this pink color isn't that strong, so I'm going to use blue. But so now we want to find this distance right here, and this distance is the same as this distance. So now what I'm going to do is say pi, again like we did, plus this distance pi over 4, you know, just ignoring the pi's, we'll say 1/1 plus 1/4, find the lowest common denominator, so we get 4/4 plus 1/4 equals 5/4 pi. So this will be 5/4 pi. Or sorry, Yeah, 5 pi fourths, same thing. Alright, so now we want to find this quadrant. Find this quadrant right here, which is this distance from pi. So this distance right here is going to be the same distance as this distance. So again, we have our 1 pi plus this distance right here, which is the same as this. So pi over 3. Ignoring the pi's, we're just going to think of it as 1 over 1 plus 1/3. And this will give us, when we simplify it, or when we find the lowest common denominator, we'll have 3 over 3 plus 1 over 3 equals 4/3 pi. Four pi thirds. And so now we're down to the last quadrant. And you can do this method to calculate this out. You just do the same exact thing here, and you'd get pi plus pi over 2, which I'll draw it out. So 1 pi over 1 plus pi. You think of 1 pi over 2. 1 over 1 plus 1/2. And finding the lowest common denominator, we have 2 over 2 plus 1 over 2 equals 3 over 2. Tack on a pi, so you have 3 pi halves. And we're down to the last quadrant. Oh, that was terrible. Let's see if I can draw this better. Good enough. Alright, so now we want we want this distance. We want this distance right here, and this is just the same as this distance. So again, we'll use this as our midpoint now, or as our fraction to add to. So now we have 3 pi over 2 plus this distance, which is actually just this, pi over 6. Finding the lowest common denominator, we multiply both the numerator and denominator of the left fraction by 3. So we get 9 over 6 plus 1 over 6, or 10, 6. And this just simplifies to 5/3. And we tack on a pi. So we have 5 pi over 3. Now we want to find this distance, which is the same as this distance. So we say 3 pi over 2 plus pi over 4. Ignoring the pi, we just say 3 divided by 2 plus 1/4. Finding the lowest common denominator, we multiply the numerator and denominator of the left fraction by 2. So we get 6 over 4 plus 1 over 4. And that just equals 7/4. And we throw a pi on there. And so 7 pi fourths. So now we're down to the last measurement of the unit circle we want to get. So we want to say this distance, the distance from here to here is the same as the distance from here to here. So we say 3 pi halves plus pi over 3. Let's ignore the pi's. We say 3 over 2 plus 1 over 3. Finding the lowest common denominator, we get 9 over 6 plus 1, no, sorry, 2 over 6, 11 sixths. Put the pi there. So we have 11 pi over 6. And now we have all the measurements for the unit circle. And we figured it out by just using the first quadrant's values. I hope you found this tutorial helpful, and like and subscribe if you did. Thanks.